So I would say the overall piece of advice is find your support people, because you will run into people who are going to try to tell you you can't do what you want to do. And you have to be able to sort of tell the difference between what is constructive criticism that you can learn from and build on, and what are people just sort of showing their own internal biases. So I'll just give you a couple stories. When I was at San Diego State, I went there not having any idea what I was going to do. I played in the marching band and the wind ensemble, but figured music was really not going to, be a good career path. But I'd always taken a lot of math, so I continued that. I was finishing up the calculus series, and I thought, I really should look into some subjects that actually use this math that I'm learning. I'm just sort of doing it for fun. And so I went to talk to two professors. One was in the electrical engineering department there, and he said, well, we did have a woman come through here once, but it's a really difficult course to study, and I just don't think you'd be interested in what we do here. Which was kind of ironic, because I'd set up the meeting with, I'm interested in finding out what you do here. I mean, I really honestly did not know anything about engineering. So fortunately, I talked to a professor in the physics department as well, and got quite a different reception. He's like, well, I'm really glad to hear you're interested in physics. And then he asked me about my math background. By the way, the engineering professor didn't ask me anything about that. The physics professor did, and I said, well, I'm finishing up the calculus series, and I have the highest grade in the class. He goes, well, that's fantastic. He said, you've already learned the language of physics. Yes. And if you started into our classes next semester, you could concentrate on the concepts, whereas most students are trying to learn the concepts and the language at the same time. He goes, so I bet you do really well. Well, I never would have thought about that on my own until he said that. And then he also talked about various different careers people could have if they majored in physics, which was also really important, because I really did not have a good idea of what you could do with a physics degree. I had not taken physics in high school. I had not taken chemistry. So I really did not have that background. So that's an example of, okay, somebody who's really not at all interested in you or your career or engineering in general, because, I think I have a lot of potential, but he certainly didn't see that. And then somebody else who was really encouraging.